Hi boys and girls, my name is Mrs. Mastin and I'm a first grade teacher at Boyne City Elementary School. We've been tweeting with you a lot about Marty McGuire, so I thought I would read you a chapter from her book. Okay, I'm going to read chapter 9. By the second Friday of rehearsals, I'm really good at losing my golden ball. I almost cry every time, and I haven't called the wishing well a garbage can in 3 days. 1 week to your big day, and you're almost ready, James says. Let's move on to the scene in the castle. Okay, Princess, you've made this deal with the frog, and you really, really regret it. You can't stand the frog. Let's see it. I sit down in the chair where I'm supposed to be having my royal dinner and stare at the stuffed frog next to me. I try to look like I can't stand him, but he's very cute and froggy in a silly, ugly sort of way. Marty, try again, Miss Aloy rushes in and scoops up the frog. This is a horrible, slimy, disgusting creature. You have to look disgusted. I try again. Mostly I feel bad for it, though. James takes the frog from her hand and squats down next to me. Here's the thing, he says. You're looking at the frog like Marty would look at it, right? I nod. I'm going to guess that Marty really likes frogs. I nod again. James gives me the big white smile. I like frogs too, he says. Did you know some frogs can jump up to 20 times the length of their bodies? That would be like me jumping more than 100 feet. It's my turn to smile. Yeah, and did you know the longest frog jump ever was made by a frog named Sanjanti in South Africa? Annie steps up and tugs my sleeve. Hey, yeah, we read about him in the frog exhibit at the Museum of Natural History. The frog went almost 33.5 feet in just 3 jumps. It was really awesome. For a minute, I had forgotten I'm mad at Annie. She and James and I started frog hopping around the room. We have a great time until we hear the maracas. Have we forgotten who is the princess and who is the frog? Miss Aloy puts her hands on her hips. Just a little character exploration, James takes my hand and pulls me up to stand. Annie goes back to her tree in the forest. So, James says, Marty loves frogs, but I'm not Marty. Right, he says, and he tips my chin up into the air. Get some finicky princess attitude going. Let's try it again. When I think about it, that way, it's kind of fun. I imagine I'm even snootier and snippier and fancier than Veronica Grace. I narrow my eyes and wrinkle my nose up at that frog on that chair next to me. Perfect, James says. Finally, the frog ends up on my pillow. I said I'd let him share my bed, but I'm supposed to throw him against the wall instead. Then the frog is supposed to turn into the prince. Be gone with you, I yell. I hold the frog by one of its long, dangly legs, and I whirl it around and around in circles over my head before I let it go. The stuffed frog flops against the classroom wall and lands under the chalkboard in a pile of dust. Rupert steps out from behind the bookshelf with his crown on. The princess is supposed to be very happy to see him. I'm not happy. I feel bad for the stuffed frog. Cut, James says, and picks up the frog. He hands it back to me. Marty? Yes. Go away and send out the princess. Okay. This time I throw the frog and rush over to the prince. A prince! You're really a prince! Why, yes, fair princess, Rupert the prince says. And now the spell is broken. Will you marry me? Of course, I say, and we link arms and walk off while my parents, the king and queen, smile and wave. Better, I ask? James applauds. Perfect! Okay, but there's still something I don't get, I say. What's that? Well, the princess can't stand the frog, right? I mean, she hates it and ends up throwing it against a wall, and when she finds out it was really the princess, she loves him. Right, James said. And you expect him to be okay with that? I point to Rupert. My feelings were kind of hurt, he says. I know, James says, but you have to remember this story was written a long time ago. Annie jumps in again. Actually, my mom told me that in a newer version of the fairy tale, the princess doesn't throw the frog against the wall, or cut its head off, or anything awful like that. She kisses it and sees that it's really beautiful, and that's what broke the spell. See? That makes more sense, I say. Ew, Veronica Grace squeals. Oh, be quiet. I look down at the stuffed frog in my hands. He looks sad about the whole thing. His mouth is too small and his eyes are too big. And he doesn't even have any eardrums. He has a beanbag bottom that's all droopy. He'd never survive in a real pond. I toss him to Rupert. "Ribbit," Rupert says, and makes the frog jump into Veronica Grace's desk. She screams, "Ah!" I imagine if it were a real frog, I say. Then I get a great idea. It's not a princess idea at all. It's a 100% Marty idea. I look over at Rupert, and before I can say a word, he's smiling like crazy. "Are you thinking what I'm thinking?" I ask. He nods. "I sure am. Turns out my Marty idea is a Rupert idea, too. And it's the best idea ever." That's the end of the chapter. What do you think is going to happen next? What kind of idea do Marty and Rupert have planning? Sounds a little fishy to me. Or should I say, froggy.